विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद राधा शिवासादि गौरवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधारमण हरि गोविंद जय जय गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधारमण हरि गोविंद जय जय गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधारमण हरि गोविंद जय जय गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधारमण हरि गोविंद जय जय हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 नाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Roshabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhescha Krupa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhatta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam karoti vachalam pangum langhete girim Yatkrupa tamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining today. So we completed chapter 4 and we are in the chapter 5. We'll just quickly recap what we did in the last class. And I think some of you have raised some doubts, and that also will quickly clarify those pertaining to the previous chapter, and then go ahead with that. So what's the link between the previous chapter and this chapter? Nishkama Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are more or less the same. So there is no much difference in any of this terminology. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada also uses Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga as Krishna consciousness. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, you don't have to get confused in this. That in Nishkama Karma Yoga, Krishna says that do it as a matter of duty. And a matter of duty, and this duty, what you are doing, is coming from the prescribed duties as per our Shastra. And in the Shastra, specifically based on your Varna and Ashrama, you have certain duties to perform. You perform those duties. And at the same time, it is also mentioned that do it with knowledge. That is what is called the Jnana part of it. So do it as a duty, which is karma part of it. Do it with knowledge, which is Jnana part of it. And the last one, no attachment to the results, is basically what you are asking, why are you doing it? What is your higher purpose? So that is where we kind of said that we could define what is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Results that you are offering, if you offer it to the Supreme Lord, that is where you go to the next level. But to start with, you can start with Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is what are the basic pillars, and these are the 3 basic pillars. Okay. So this is also what we have seen, which is we are calling it as Buddhi Yoga, but you could call it as Nishkama Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. And now I made a small tweak here so people are not getting confused. So Buddhi Yoga is doing your karma with the knowledge called Jnana, and with not expecting the results or fruits of that particular activity that you are doing. So this is what we mentioned. Now, the next thing, what we are also saying that this detachment of this work which you are talking about, not getting attached to the results, that could be done basically when you are doing your prescribed duties, doing it as a beautiful work is one level of yajna that you are doing. Okay, it's an yajna because you are, yajna doesn't mean that you are putting, say in the fire, you are putting some ahuti, etc. work can also become an yajna. And this is yajna which we mentioned, doing your prescribed duties is also an yajna, but it is at a level 1.0, yajna 1.0. When you do it with the knowledge of that work and no reactionary work, that means if you can also do it with the knowledge how I can get no reactions to the work that I am doing, because most of the time we do the work and there could be you could get reactions such as positive reactions. Positive reactions meaning pious credit, or that work could also lead you to negative reactions where you can get impious credit. And the other one, which is what Krishna was asking us to do, is do it as akarma. Akarma, where there is no reaction to your work. That is at the yajna 2.0 level. So, hope I made that clear. Any doubts so far, please? Okay. So before I go there, somebody was asking, can you give us some real-time examples for what you are saying, Nishkama Karma Yoga? Because we are not able to that much relate. How does it really work out? So I remember reading one of the conversations where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the guru of Srila Prabhupada. So one learned scholar comes to him and saying that I have a doubt, I have a question. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur surprisingly says that, okay, now go to the kitchen in the temple and wash the pots, wash the vessels. And he goes, that person goes and washes the pots and comes back. And he now says to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that my doubts have been clarified. So sometimes what happens is that when you're doing certain gross level things, there are changes that are happening at your certain level also. Certain level could mean that changes that are happening at your mind level, intellect level, or spiritual level, which is at a spirit level. So these changes can happen, and that is what we could observe. Say with my own example. Suppose I kind of was eating onion and garlic at one point of time, and it has been an integral part of our kitchen. Now, slowly, when I started in this Bhakti Marg, and when we were having the prasad which we were preparing without onion and garlic, now slowly, now what happened at a mind and intellect and a spiritual level, I would say more at a mind level, that I no more crave for onion and garlic. And whenever I wanted to use it, I don't prefer to use it at all. Did it happen by force? Did it happen? See, this is what at a certain level, certain changes happen. And it becomes a habit and it becomes your integral part of your life, that involuntarily you could tend to show that kind of a character. So that is what will happen to you when you start in this process and you continue to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Slowly you will be getting into the next level where not just at a gross level changes are happening, but at a certain level changes are happening. That's the beauty about Bhagavad Gita, and that's the beauty about this knowledge and instructions that systematically Krishna is giving. So in each one of our life, these kind of changes will happen depending upon some activities that you are doing. When you start thinking and dovetailing with Krishna, dovetailing with whatever knowledge that we are getting from Bhagavad Gita. Say, that is what we call it as yajna. How you can make your work as an yajna is the first level we discussed yesterday, right? Let us reiterate that. And it is also said that over a period of time, when you keep on doing certain things, okay, and as per the science, it says that when you do a certain thing for 10,000 hours, it will become your habit, and you will also become expertise in that. Suppose I am learning to play harmonium. I play it for 10,000 hours. Then I will become an expertise in that. So how this expertise is coming? This expertise is not coming from a gross level only. It is making certain changes at a certain level, mind, intellect, and at an advanced stage at a spiritual level also. So that is what it is. Okay. And this could be applied for the junk food that we are eating. So slowly when you start practicing it and eating Krishna Prasad, what is offered to the Supreme Lord, the changes will so happen that you no more are interested in eating any junk food. And somebody was saying, am I supposed to do something forcefully? Don't need to do anything forcefully. Anything that you do forcefully will just come back to you in a much more vigorous way, and it will impact your life in a wrong way again, wherein you are taking that up. Like the same thing happened with Saubhari Muni. Saubhari Muni said that now I cannot meditate in this on the ground because there is so much of distraction. So let me go into the ocean and there do meditation. And when he started doing meditation for thousands of years, then once he is because he was suppressing whatever he had, and once he saw it, a male and a female fish mating, then that craving came into his mind, and then he came out of his meditation and married 100 wives. So like that, you should not suppress things, but slowly when you do your nishkama karma, and things will reveal, and the changes will happen at a certain level also. Okay. So that is what we told, that when you do detached work, one can do at a yajna prescribed duties as a beautiful work, which is yajna 1.0, and with the knowledge and non-reactionary work, when you do, it becomes yajna 2.0. And we also discussed about the science of work, and which is more to do at a jnana level, the science of work, where we said that karma, akarma, vikarma, and reactions associated with that work. We are just revising this part. Now, work when you do, there is always a reaction, and this reaction is basically based on the intentions with which you are doing. So that intentions plays a vital role in giving you the reactions, what kind of reactions you get. And the reactions could be positive reactions, where you get pious credit called sakarma, and you get when you do certain things which are against the prescribed scriptures and shastras, it is called vikarma, where you get negative results or negative reactions, and we wanted to come out of these reactions totally, so that we get the eligibility to go back to Goloka, and because all the karma, whatever you do, whether it is pious or impious, you have to reap those benefits, or reap whatever you have done, credit that you got, negative credit or positive credit. For that, you have to come back to this material world again. So you to come out of this material world bondage, you need to do akarma, and that is where Krishna was talking about what is this action in inaction kind of thing, which we discussed in greater detail yesterday. Okay, so one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is an intelligent among men. So see, suppose, and that's the example that we have given. Activity that has no karma associated by doing it, that is what Krishna calls as inaction. So inaction doesn't mean that renouncing the work or giving up the activity. It is basically where you are not associated or you are not expecting the results, or not getting attached to that results. It's called no action. And inaction, Krishna calls it as akarma. And this is the smart way of working, and this is what we all should move towards. And we talked about Yajna 2.0, where for Yajna, you need to have a purpose for Yajna. And this Yajna, which we are calling, is as a divine Yajna. That means you are seeing if there is a higher purpose. And that higher purpose is called is divine. Divine meaning somewhere where you are relating to Krishna. So for any yajna, you have some attachments. That means you have to put as ahuti. You give inputs and you get some benefits, or you call it as what is the end result of it. So in the yajna, we say that what is that attachments that you are giving, and what is the output you are getting. See, sometimes we also come to know that when somebody goes to Kashi, we ask them, so what did you really give up when you went to Kashi? So you are also, any activity that you are doing, you are trying to see that as an yajna. So what is that attachment that you have that you have given up? And the result is that some purification will happen. So going to a yatra also could be a yajna. So everything in your life can be purpose driven. And find out one yajna in your life that you wanted to make it as a purpose driven. Take any nothing for that matter. Sleeping. How can you make it as a yajna? Sleeping as an yajna. So waking up early in the morning could also be a yajna. So small things. It doesn't mean that Bhagavad Gita is talking about big things in your life. Small changes. See, there is also a saying. It says that small things make perfection, but perfection is not a small thing. So small things, whatever, how you are handling them, that's where Bhagavad Gita is more focused on. It talks at a very gross level, but at the same time, how this gross level things that you are doing can also change at a certain level, which is what mind intelligence and spirit level, how changes can happen. So we gave an example of if suppose you wanted to wake up early in the morning, you need to give up laziness. And when you wake up early in the morning, what is the divine purpose you have? You wanted to do chanting of the holy name, say. So that could be your divine purpose. And what will be the result of it? You will get the attachment and understanding who the Supreme Lord is. Because the chanting process could also reveal a lot of things which not that is revealed at a gross level, but at a certain level it will be revealed. Who am I? Who is the Supreme Lord? These are not at a gross level. Though people can say at a gross level, Supreme Lord means Krishna, etc. But at a certain level, you need to get that calling. You need to get that understanding. Who am I really? At a gross level, I could say that with a superficial understanding, I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. But again, that realization at a certain level will come when you do it as a yajna. And keep on doing your nishkama karma. So automatically the changes without your involvement will also happen at the certain level. That's the beauty about it. So we also seen that the process to gain this knowledge of Yajna 2.0, you need to have a guru in your life, a spiritual master, because this knowledge what we are talking about is not at a surface level. It's not a general kind of a knowledge that we are talking about. This is spiritual knowledge, and this impacts your certain level at a spiritual level. So you need to have a guru, and guru, when he is imparting this knowledge, he is sending the imparting this knowledge from his heart to the heart of the other person. So it is not happening at a gross level. I am hearing it. So yes, it starts with hearing, but the transformation or the exchange of information will happen from heart to heart exchange. If you go and see the previous video where we were doing this Mangala Charana, there the Guru and Shishya were there. The heart was highlighted or enlightened, and these disciples' heart is also getting enlightened, because the exchange between Guru and Shishya is heart-to-heart transformation. So understanding of the absolute truth and connection of everything to divine is what the spiritual Guru will start imparting, and this knowledge can come to you when you do a submissive inquiry with your spiritual master. And you should also render service to the Guru. So that submissive inquiry and service to the Guru is what leads you to that jnana. And So that is what is going to, from where you will be getting that knowledge. Okay. They say that when you are having this relationship between the guru and the disciple, the Sishya will have the relationship with the guru, and the guru is going to impart the spiritual knowledge. Okay. But in turn, the disciple should do menial services to the guru. That means you from a service level, if you ask the second one, service level, the guru is serving the disciple at a spiritual level, but the disciple is serving the guru at a physical level. Physical level meaning he does all menial services. You see that in our olden days, whenever we see a disciple, he is kind of doing some manual labor or service to the guru, helping him in the kitchen, or going and getting wood from the forest, or pressing his feet, or massaging the guru. Now, what we are trying to say is that some people may see that this is a bonded labor. Why children are subjected to do this kind of services? But actually, as per our Vedic culture, this is what it is. When the exchange between the guru is going to impart spiritual knowledge, and the service he is doing is the spiritual service by imparting that, and the disciple should do some manual services to the guru or to that movement whichever we are talking about. Taking some examples like doing some book distribution, or going and cleaning the temple. Those kind of services is what, because not all the time the guru is there. So for behalf of that, you can do the services what the guru is asking you to do at that level also. Okay, so we have also discussed what are the obstacles that you have in this path while you are doing your Yajna 2.0. The first obstacle is that arrogance and baseless doubts. If somebody is prompted to do or act, that's where your obstacles are there, and you cannot really get the expected results. The second one is faithlessness. You should have the faith in the guru. And you take time to validate whether the guru with whom I am taking is the right kind of a guru or is a bogus guru. But once you have decided, then you should have faith, and faithlessness could be an obstacle in your path. So first level is that work as a worship. Second level is life as a worship. So not just one activity of your life or activities in your life, but how can you make your life itself as a worship? That is where a lot of people have made transformations beyond our expectations or beyond our comprehension. So when you make your life as a worship, that's where we want to go. And this is a big picture we are giving. This is the end goal. It takes time to realize, but you could continue to do your Nishkama Karma. And when you start doing it slowly and steadily, that will give rise to get all these realizations. Okay, thank you very much for joining today. And we are in the chapter 5, which is Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So this chapter is acronymed as STEP, Stay in the World. S stands for Stay in the World. Why stay in the world? Because there was one doubt that Arjuna again asked the similar doubt what he was asking in 3.1. So similar kind of a doubt he was asking. So to clarify that, Krishna is speaking again, and stay in the world. T stands for 3 doers. What are these 3 doers that are there? And equal vision. So how Samadarshana. How can you have this equal vision? And peace, which is what ultimately everybody is looking for. How could I get that peace? And what is the peace formula is what Krishna is going to discuss. So at a summary level, this is what it is. Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. The link between the previous chapter is that Krishna glorifies work in devotion and renunciation. That's what we have just seen. and there were some Arjuna's confusions were also there. So that's where it goes as an input to this particular chapter, which is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. And so the first part, the stay in the world, here Krishna talks about the renounce the work, renunciation or work in devotion was the doubt that Arjuna had. That's the first doubt. And that's where it prompted him, Krishna, to speak more about this particular knowledge. See, one of the reasons why Krishna, I would say, when I was reading Bhagavad Gita, I felt that Krishna was wantedly, did not clarify everything. There, he could have, as Supreme Lord, he could have clarified everything in one shot. But he did not do it for a purpose. Because when he talked about certain things, he purposefully did not give it in such a way that Arjuna will get into a mode of confusion. He wanted him to, but because once he has that confusion, he will raise that as a doubt. And once he raises that a doubt, people like us will also get benefited to get the rest of the Bhagavad Gita spoken. So that is one of the reasons, and this is not a speculation, but this is what one of the acharyas or seniors in our ISKCON community also mentioned. So that could be one of the reasons why Krishna is, so that Arjuna gets into that confusion mode. So he asked more questions, and it helps us to clarify our doubts also. So here Krishna in this particular segment talks about Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga. What is Sankhya Yoga? And in a very great details, he talks about the Sankhya Yoga, not to that level what he is going to talk in the Jnana Yoga segment, which is after 12 chapters. So, but at one level, he talks about Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, does some comparison, and what is the end result of these Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, he talks about. Art of work in devotion. So, he also gives you how you can work in devotion and what is that, and it's an art. So, how do you learn that art? Every jiva as part of the Supreme, he gives that confirmation. And the soul aloof from the sense and objects. That is one thing he reveals. Detachment like lotus flower, Padma Pushpam. So lotus flower, how the example he has given how to be detached, he gives an example of the lotus flower. Mind, intelligence, and sense purification. So that is how you can help you in purifying all this. He talks about that. No bondage and no reactions. When you do akarma, he talks about akarma at a next level here in this particular thing. Okay, so that's where we were at stay, and we'll take this module first. So if you see Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, we are active beings constantly making plans for our future all the time. Either we are in the future planning for what will happen, what should happen, etc., etc. What will happen or what should happen, this is, we are planning for the future, or you are thinking about the future, or you are in the past. Mostly those people who are in depression are in the past. They think about the past. Oh, why did this happen? Why this person has insulted me like this? He should have not done that. He should have not done it. So this kind of in the past. But you are not in the present. So once you are not in the present, yes, you can plan for the future. Those people who are constantly most of the time in the future, they are frustrated. Why they are frustrated? Because they are not able to execute things in the moment. They are not able to enjoy things, what is there in front of them. Either it is work or it is time or whatever. They are not, because they are in the future or they are in the past. So for us, Krishna is saying that how we can have the perfect vision such that we can be at peace and do our work, and such that we give utmost care while doing that work. So our thoughts manifest in actions, repeated actions form habits. Those habits make up our character, and that character determines our destiny. So as we discussed, the small things make perfection, but perfection is not a small thing. So how you can make those small changes in your life? See, all of a sudden, if suppose somebody says that I went to Bhagavad Gita 18-day course, wow, what a course it is. I transform myself. If he's saying that, that is all bullshit. So you cannot expect that transformation will happen in 18 days. Yeah, for some people it might happen, but for people, most of us, it has to take it takes time, and you have to put it into practice. Whatever knowledge what you are gaining here, or you need to put it into practice. The example what we have given about yajna, you also should try. How can I make every activity as a yajna? That is work as a worship. And later point of time, you should also think about how I can make my life as a yajna. Because the formula is the same. See, it is said that in the initial period of our education, we were knowing these tables. 2 into 2 is 4, 2 into 3 is 6, etc. But that particular formula, if you know, and how to multiply things with that one level. Now, if suppose somebody gives you, can you give me the results of 242 multiplied with 565? Yes, you can give it because you know the formula. So similarly, when you know these formulas, what Krishna is saying, when you apply it at one level, at a minor level, but again, you can also apply it at a higher level also. So that's what it is saying here. Our thoughts manifest into actions. Okay. And repeated actions form our habits. So when you keep on repeating certain things, it becomes your habit. They say that for 21 days, you keep on doing one thing, and it will become your integral part of your life, and which is called as habits. And those things, when habits make your character meaning at a subtle level, these things are happening, not at a gross level only. The subtle things that we are talking about character, and that character is getting created based on your mind intelligence and at a spiritual level also. That's what it is. You are building that character, and this character which you are building, and this subtle body is carried to the next life. We know that. And this subtle body which is going to the next life, and since you made certain changes in your life, such as the subtle body is getting changed. So though you may not have had the fullest opportunity to purify all your mind intelligence and false ego, so, but again, since it has purified to a certain extent, it will carry forward the purity level to the next level. So that is where Krishna is saying that whatever effort you put to understand this Krishna consciousness will be like, it will not go waste. One thing, suppose you did only 10% in this life. The next life will start at 11%. So your subtle body is also going to help. Some people pick up certain instruments very fast. And they know certain ragas which will take like so many years to practice. They pick it up in no time. They're called child prodigies. So these child prodigies, how did they come? Because they made that effort in their previous life, and such that now they can able to get that very fast. The famous famously it is commented that we are not human beings on a spiritual journey, but rather we are spiritual beings on a human journey. So how are you identifying yourself is all more important. Now, if you ask me, oh, how am I identifying? I am identifying myself with this gross body only. I am so and so. I work in such and such place, etc., etc. But slowly and steadily, if you can use this particular instructions and follow those instructions, now you will be identifying with yourself with your spiritual body, not with your gross body. And that's what it meant here. Every journey starts with a step, and in chapter 5, Krishna explains how to take steps in the right direction. How can I take these steps, whatever steps I am taking, in the right direction? So Krishna is going to solidify your understanding of your whatever you gained in the previous chapter. Again, he reinforces with a few other things such that it will help you in your spiritual journey. There are steps leading to further entanglement in the worldly complexities. but there are also steps leading to life of liberation, freedom, and tranquility. See, so it is your choice whether you wanted to get entangled here or you wanted to get liberated. It's your choice, and that choice you can make based on the knowledge that you are getting and applying in your life. Just getting knowledge will not really help you. When you apply things, small things, when you do in your life, then I could say that small things that we could. Can somebody tell me what are some of the small things that you can start applying in your life? Anything that comes to your mind? What are things that you can do? Anything. Just there's no right and wrong answer. Okay, chanting regularly, Jyoti Mataji. Yeah, praying, Gopi Mataji. Yeah, quit non-vegetarian food. Getting up in the morning and reading Bhagavad Gita. Rajesh was starting wake up. Yeah, reading Bhagavad Gita. Kushbu Mataji. Yes. Sarup Guru. Yes. Very nice. Srivalli Mataji. And Sindhu. So, thank you. Exercising. Pratham Prabhu. Yeah, chanting. So, thank you very much. So, now you see that these are some of the things. You make every activity as a yajna. How can I make every activity as an yajna? There are some attachments. There are some things based on your past experience are not helping you to take up that activity. So, overcome that. So for that, you need to have determination. You need to have that required this thing. So once you have that determination and the required intelligence, you will be able to proceed in your journey, right? So for taking up any of these, determination is required, and that definitely will come when you are doing this chanting regularly. So one of the things in this Kali Yuga that is recommended is that chanting process. Take up to chanting early in the morning, one round of chanting, or if you are not able to do it early in the morning, you can do it any part of the day. So you can also do it. So that is where determination will come. We have seen that in the previous chapters, that determination is what we need to pursue any activity for consistently, and that comes with chanting also will help you in that aspect. Okay, so the first one is stay in the world, and this is what we have discussed. Arjuna is still confused despite Krishna's explanation in chapter 3. Arjuna still considers work and renunciation to be mutually exclusive paths. So what does that mean? So he's saying that work and renunciation are mutually exclusive. That means when you are working, I cannot do any renunciation. So when I am renunciating, I cannot do work. So that is his understanding, thinking that both work and renunciation are mutually exclusive. I cannot perform both of the things simultaneously. That's what his confusion was. Okay. So now Krishna elaborates on how an individual who works in a spiritual consciousness is automatically elevated to a platform of renunciation. So when you start working at a spiritual level, that means you have some why very strong. Why am I doing it? I am doing it for a higher purpose. When you have this kind of a consciousness, automatically you will be elevated, and the platform what you are working at, you will be able to, or you will be having, you will be elevating to a platform of renunciation. So renunciation is not equivalent to giving up work. No action is not a renunciation. A renunciation of the results, that is what Krishna is talking about. Please understand this. So renunciation of the results, and that is not easy because you are doing at a mental level and at a subtle level. The path of Karma Yoga offers a progressive means of spiritual development while simultaneously staying in the world. So this is what, when you are doing Karma Yoga, so it's a progressive path where spiritual development is going to happen. And though for a mundane man, it seems like, yeah, he is also doing the same work and nothing much, but the things are happening are at a certain level. So They for people like mundane people, for onlookers, it seems like this person is the same person, no changes have happened. They feel that way, but you know things are happening at a certain level. Just understand that. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvam api na lipyate. Soul, and who controls this mind senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So here Krishna is saying that yoga yukto vishuddhatma. So one who works in devotion, who is in pure soul. So he's trying to give you that what will be the end result of a person who is taking up this process, what he is recommending you to take. What will happen? He's saying that this kind of a person who is taking up this work, and if he is able to control his mind and senses, eventually what will happen? He will be dear to all. So dear to all meaning there are no enemies. Right now, if you ask me, how many of you have no enemies? Can anybody raise your hands? Those who have no enemies? Can't be, because we have not been operating at that level. So we do not have enemies. Enemies. So once you start using following this, what Krishna is saying, you can cultivate and you can be dear to all. You may not have enemies, but there are people who will also be thinking that you are an enemy. That is also possible, right? So Krishna at later point of time says that how you can become not only dear to all, others also feel that you are dear to them. Both things. So that's the beauty about it, not one-sided, because you might think that, no, he's not my enemy, but the other person may think that you are his enemy. So how do you come out of it? That's where Krishna is going to talk about. Brahmanya adhyaya karmani sangam tektva karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padma patram ivambasa. So here he is saying that one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So as we have seen, why most of the time our national flower, what is our national flower? Can anybody tell? Some kids might remember. National flag, national flower, national animal. So our national flower is lotus. Is that correct? Yeah. So Nitu Darshan Reddy Prabhu. Yes, Chandanama. So basically, why lotus? See, lotus is an example which sets us how you should live in this material world, or how you should act in this material world. See, where does this lotus flower blossom? Most of the time, where did you see this lotus flower? Lotus flower, you have seen it in the pond. And that pond, which is having a lot of keychad. Keychad means there's a lot of dirt there. And in that dirt, in that mud, this lotus flower is coming up, right? And but again, you see that this lotus flower has got a unique character. That the leaf of that lotus flower, if you take and put it into the water and remove it, not a single drop will get moistured with the water, though it is in water. So that is what Krishna is saying is there. Perform your duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord. Similarly, because when you do this, you will be unaffected by sinful actions. So whatever reactions are there, sinful actions here meaning that reactions, whatever reactions are there, positive, negative, nothing will get entangled to you. More or less what you are doing is akarma. So he is elaborating on the akarma and giving you more information about it. And he is giving the example of the lotus flower. So we have seen that. So 3 doers. So he's saying that Krishna, what he's saying is that stay in this world. Don't renunciate and just leave this world. You have to be in this world and do your prescribed duties based on your varna and ashrama. But also, in addition to that, you should have a bigger picture in your life. Not that you are working at a bodily level, but now also think about how the changes can happen when you do certain things at your certain level also. What are the certain level changes? In what are the areas it can happen? Can somebody tell? What are the certain level changes? Where it can impact in your in you when some certain level changes are made. No? No information at all? How can it impact at a certain level? What are the things that can change? See, when I do my exercise, mind intelligence, and at a spirit level also. Rasamala Mataji. So, when you do go to a gym, you do a lot of weightlifting, this and that. At a gross level, you can see that. But this is also an exercise. The way you are doing your exercise, going to a gym regularly, this also you need to perform regularly. Regularly, whatever is recommended. See, we have seen in the past, there are three things. One is that you need to know the Sambandha Jnana. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. So Sambandha is basically, it is telling about lot of knowledge you are getting, what to do, how to do, etc., etc. And how to do also you are getting. Now, Abhideya is also basically the execution part and how you are going to execute. So once you do that, the end results is Prayojana you will get. And what is that Prayojana for all of us is that we wanted to become peaceful. We wanted to have the characteristic of our true body, our real who we are. That is, we are Sachidananda. So we wanted to be eternal and knowledgeable as well as blissful. So this you can be able to experience when you execute what Krishna is going to tell you subsequently. So for that, the prerequisite is that you need to stay in this world. Like a lotus flower, you need to stay. Be in that kichad. But again, don't get contaminated or get associated. Basically, with you need to be not expect any results, and the renunciation is what truly will happen when you are acting like a lotus flower, right? Okay. So the next one is talking about three doers. Very important. This is where little bit of confusion may come, and I expect that you can ask certain questions. And some of the doubts like what is this prarabdha karma that we talked about earlier, that will also get clarified. And now if you see here, there is a super soul, there is the material nature and jiva. So how all these three are acting is what we will see. Or that's the three doers part. Okay. So three doers, I will take few more minutes to complete this module. Okay, is that okay? We'll extend it for 15 more minutes. All of you, can you raise your hands? Is that okay? Okay, thank you, Srivali Mataji. Pawan Kumar Prabhu, is that okay? Supriya Mataji, okay, thank you very much, everyone. Because we wanted to complete this chapter and then go. And I think it may take 15 minutes time, so but we'll complete. While living in this world, however, one can easily assume the mentality that they are the director, controller, and breadwinner. So this, see, our nature is that I am always thinking that somebody was asking a guru. This was in Karnataka. So Guruji, we are following you, and whatever instructions you are giving to be, we are listening and we are doing things as per your this thing. Then can we get liberated? Can we also go to Goloka? That was the doubt that some of you also had. Then the Guru said one thing. In Kannada he said, so he said, na hoge hogitni. Then the students, disciples were perplexed. What is this? Why Guru is saying that na hoge hogitni? If he want, if he go, if there is a possibility that of going, then he will only go. Na ho gaya hogitini. So how is that only he will go? What about us? We are following him. We will not go. So he is kind of selfish guru. What is this? So that's the mental. That was what they are contemplating upon. Oh, maybe this is what the guru is saying. He may be going if there is a possibility. Now then the guru clarifies, knowing that what they are thinking. He says that na hoge hogitini. The concept of I, which is there, which is dominantly, which is there, when it goes away, then you will go to Goloka. Because we are attached to this I so much. I want this. People should do as per my wishes. And I only should be the dominating person in the family, in the school, in the class, everywhere. This is where this kind of a competitive spirit has destroyed our habits also, our character also. Coming first in the class is nothing wrong. But thinking that only I should come first in the class, and for hook or crook, I don't want to allow any other person to come first in class. And we have seen, I know, there was one good, when it comes to three doers, I remember one movie which was coming long time back called The Three Idiots. So this Three Idiots movie, that one guy, Silencer, that fellow wanted to come first in class. So he wanted to ensure that there is no competition. So all the wrong literatures, whatever magazines are there, he kind of gives it to other students or other classmates such that they are got distracted. So a lot of people wanted to have this mentality that I am the director, I am the controller, I am the person in charge. So this kind of a nature has really made us not realize our true potential and what we are. So we need to give that bad kind of a what do you say habit, or for that matter conception of about ourselves. In reality, Krishna explains that there are three doers in any activity: the individual soul, the super soul, and the material nature. So these are the three doers. What to speak of controlling the results of our activities? We are barely in control of even the physical and mental tools with which we perform those activities. See, a lot of people say that I am the controller. What is your controller? Can you control your heartbeat? Can you control saying that, see, our digestion also is happening not based on our own effort. So Krishna says that in later parts of the chapter, so that so to digest the food, I am the person who is digesting that food also. I am there, so that is the reason why digestion is happening. So I am that Jirna Agni. He says that I am that Jirna Agni, I am that digestive fire. He tells that, Krishna says that. So in one way, there is so much of false conception about ourselves that I am the doer, but actually you are not. So Krishna is going to explain who are the actual three doers. What to speak of controlling the results of our activities? We are barely in control of even the physical and mental tools that with which we perform those activities. Krishna says that I am the intelligence also. If Krishna is not bestowed you that, you will not be able to survive in this material world also. So he says that I am that intelligence also which is there in you. So the individual soul can only desire. The desire is then sanctioned by the God who resides within the heart of as a super soul, and then the ability to perform that activity comes from the material nature, which arranges the necessary facilities. Okay, so that is what the three doers means, and we will discuss that. And this is where Krishna the difference between the soul and the super soul. Some of you have this question, so we wanted to just quickly discuss this. So basically, soul, every entities are known as Jivatmas, and the God is the maintainer. God is the maintainer. He is known as Paramatma. Okay, we are individual souls, and we are Anu, and the super soul is called Vibhu. So now, what is the size of the soul is also what is there in the Shastra. It says that you take your tip of your hair and divide it into 10 parts. Your tip of your hair divided into 10 parts. Again, divide that into 1,000 parts. That one, so it is 1/10,000 of the size of the tip of the hair. Is the size of your soul. That's what is given in the Shastras. And so we are cognizant about our own body at an individual level, but Krishna, the super soul, is cognizant of everything and everything. So he is knower of everything also. So next thing we are going to discuss a very important aspect, which is to understand the science of working in renunciation. So there are basically three doers. That's what Krishna is saying in this particular sloka, that there are three doers. The first doer is the desiring doer. So the bottommost one, you see that this is the step one is the desiring doer. And this desiring doer, whenever we wanted to perform any action, this desiring doer expresses the desire to the soul. And now the spirit soul, as part of the step 2, expresses its desire to the super soul, and the super soul is the witness and the sanctioner. So in the third step, what happens is that the super soul is now acting like a facilitating doer, and this facilitating doer, which is the super soul, what it does, it coexists in our body and acts as the facilitator of all the worldly actions that are coming. And all these desires are what is getting validated here. And validated, the super soul basically checks the validity of our desire to see, am I really qualified for the fulfillment of the desire or not? The qualification is based on my karmic bank balance. So the fourth step, it goes and checks with the karmic bank balance account, and then the super soul basically accordingly gives the sanction, yes or no, to the material nature. So the fifth step is the material nature, where it gives the sanction, yes or no. And this material nature is the third doer, which is the acting doer. Okay. So now, what is the role of the material nature? See, the jiva, the individual soul which is there, is the master of the body, but again, it does not act, nor does he induce people to act, nor it creates the fruits of the action. Who does that? All this is enacted by the swabhava, that is the particular nature acquired by the soul or jiva under the influence of the mode of material nature. So that is the importance of material nature, that it is making us to act. It is making the jiva or the individual soul to act. So also here it indicates that the beginningless material impressions, vasanas, arising from the beginningless identification of the jiva with the material body and senses, that impels one to act. So what it means is that whatever we are doing, it is getting impelled and it is getting done by the material nature through us, and also based on our vasanas. Vasanas are the previous impressions that we have from our past life also. So that is what we need to understand here. So the next thing, if you see, what is happening is that what happens to most of us is, when we perform any action, action creates a reaction. And I am saying here that for most of us, when we perform any action, action creates a reaction. This karma ends up manifesting in our consciousness as based on our inclinations and desires, which will further influence our desires. So Now if you see here, for an example, first time you wanted to steal. This is a very innocent action. That action creates a reaction and influence you to become a thief. So this is the basically that is going in a cycle. As a repercussions are there, that is what is getting depicted here, but as part of the 8th step. So desire, the root cause of all this is because the desire to enjoy with selfish motive is because of this false ego which is there. So once you have this false ego, that is what is influencing you again and again, but to be in this cycle. How this false ego is destroyed, as we discussed in the past, by association. So when you have the pure devotee association, then this false ego is destroyed and it is removed, and there is nothing much getting added to your desires, which are coming because of the vasanas of the past. So once you do that, these false ego can be destroyed, and that's where your purification of your consciousness can happen, and you can. So once your purification happens, then your desires are now not more, they are not selfish oriented desires, but now your desires are now love, care, affection, to achieve a higher level of purification or purify your consciousness. So that is the kind of desires are now you are able to make, and that's where your purification is going to happen. False ego. Okay, what is this false ego? How to get rid of this false ego? When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am the product of material nature. This is called false ego. So what is the false ego? This is the definition. I know all this, whatever I am saying, I do not have the capability to put it in the right way. My limitations, please forgive me. But once you review this video and review the material that what I am supplied and contemplate, then things will be clear for you. So the false consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am the product of material nature. And the product of material nature is basically, you are saying that I am basically acting based on ignorance or passion or in goodness. I am product of that. So this is what is false ego. And I am also categorically saying that mode of goodness is also kind of a bondage for you. At later point of time, we'll discuss that. So everyone is acting in this way, which is completely contrary to the real self, the soul. It's as if they are haunted by ghosts. So this particular false ego is compared with the ghost. Lust is compared with an enemy. The false ego is compared with the ghost. The ghost is much more dangerous in one way. The gunda, what we talk about, false ego is not good, but at the same time, this false ego is like a ghost, and it is making you act behalf of you, but you really do not want. But the ghost is making you to do that. So that's like haunted by a ghost, the false ego. So you need to get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? You can get rid of it when you get in association with the pure devotees. The ghost is the false ego, the conception that I am this mind, I am this body. Everyone is under the spell of this false ego. So every one of us are in the spell of this. Sometimes we say that everyone is under the spell of the witch called Maya, illusion, which also we come across. We are in the influence of Maya, illusion. Actually, it is the false ego which is what is making us do all this. In this way, the living being becomes the servant of the body and mind. Why we are becoming the servant of body and mind? Because of this false ego, this which is there in us. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of the Lord. And how can you act in the instructions of the Lord? Basically, how can you get your consciousness purified? Can somebody tell me? How can you purify your consciousness? How can you get rid of this false ego? I'll take few more minutes to complete. Yeah, chanting meditation. See, purifying the mind is what is primarily going to be done by your chanting process. Associating with the devotees. Rasamala Mataji, thank you very much. So, when you associate with the devotees, so it is in our Shastra, it is said that sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. What is that? Lagu matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. So basically, when you have a little bit of association with the pure devotees or sadhus, they call it as. So then you will, your false ego which is there will get diminished slowly, and you will get rid of it. So that's the importance of associating with devotees. So we discussed about 4 things one should cultivate to get into this spiritual path. Can somebody remember what are the 4 things? It also is acronymed with alphabets. What are those? Anybody knows? 4 things that you need to do to be in the spiritual path or to cultivate spirituality. You need to do 4 things. What are these 4 things? Okay, stay in this world. Yes. This is all what this long time back I told, so you might have forgotten. It is ABCD. ABCD. Everybody knows A for apple, B for ball, all that. Now we need to remember what is this ABCD. A is for association. Srivalli Mataji, is that clear? Pawan Kumar Prabhu. A is for association. Very important. First and foremost thing. Your false ego is the ghost. So that is much more dangerous than your lust. So for that matter, you need to get association first. So whether you are doing other things which are followed by B, C and D, first and foremost thing, don't leave association. Come to these classes. Being constantly hearing, hearing is also kind of association only. So association is very important. A. B stands for books. Read the right kind of books. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. They also is coming with B only. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Read right kind of books. So B is for books. C is for chanting. Chanting the holy name of the Lord. What is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you need to do chanting. D is for taking proper diet. And what kind of a diet? You need to take Krishna Prasad. Sattvic food you need to take. So when you take care of these all ABCD, that means then you are making progress. And as part of that, what we are saying is that A is for association, which will destroy your false ego. A lot of people say that this person is an egoistic person. What does it mean that this person is an egoistic person? That means false ego is dominated him and he is acting like a ghost. Like as if the ghost has haunted him. So that you need to get rid of. Okay. And 2 more things we will conclude. Please bear with me for maximum 5 minutes. We'll get so equal vision. When you are able to have this kind of a knowledge, then you will start getting that equal vision. And what is that equal vision? Vision of the self-realized soul is that basically the soul and super soul in every jiva, you will be able to see not that soul and super soul in yourself, but also you will be able to see in others. There will be no, you will not just get in the 7th cloud if there is happiness, and when there is something sad that has come in your life, you become lamented and you will just go down and go into depression. That kind of thing, you will have equal vision. No attraction to sense objects. Slowly the attraction towards your sense objects will reduce. Suppose your sense objects are like you wanted to view movies a lot beyond your so movies or internet watching and all that, all the sense objects attraction will come down. You will be able to tolerate your desire, anger and senses will be under control and engage in higher taste. So you will be now, since your lower taste has gone, You will be clinging to a higher taste. That will happen when you are cultivating this. Work for others' benefit. Not just all the time you are seeing only about your benefit, selfish interest, but you are seeing how I can help others. See, for instance, when we got this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, I am not saying that I got complete knowledge, but whatever little knowledge that I got, I wanted to share it with others. So that kind of a thing will start developing. End of the day, we are called, human beings are called gregarious animals. Are gregarious. Gregarious means we are social being. We wanted to be in the groups. We are wanted to be in association with others. We are a social animal, we say. So these are some of the words that I picked up from our bookish knowledge. But point is that we wanted to help others. So that is also one of our character. So equal vision, since the super soul resides in every living being, the advanced spiritualist is able to see every life form, be it a plant, animal, or a human being, as a temple of God. That means you are seeing everything with equal vision. So and if you see, that is one of the reasons why in our culture we do not say that snakes are to be killed wherever you see. We do not say that. They are also part of the ecosystem. They stay wherever they are. Yeah, you need to be careful because it is poisonous being. So, but again, everything we see it in equal vision. So, in this way, utmost respect is given to every living being. Different bodies with different qualities are produced according to the one's past actions. So, your current action will give rise to your next life. What kind of body you will be taking is based on your current action. So be cognizant of that and don't be afraid, but at the same time, do it with this mindset. Then you will be able to reap the benefits. So the spiritualist is not only free of racism, nationalism, ageism, and sexism, also speciesism. That means there are people who say that, especially the Bible followers, they are kind of spreading out saying that thou shalt not kill. That means they have changed that to thou shalt not murder. So that they are now saying that animals you will be surprised. There was a time when the church was saying that women do not have soul, only men have soul. So that was the kind of conception people were bringing in, so that they can use them for their own nefarious reasons. So now what we are saying is here, and the people are killing animals, saying that the animals do not have souls. But here it is very clearly, it is mentioned that every living being has got a soul, and the Jivatma and Paramatma are coexisting in them. If you can see that, that is what you will have equal vision. See, once I was about to cut a tree which was fully grown, and one of my known acquaintance told me that no, you have to pray to the tree and then you need to cut, because you are taking out the life of one particular tree. And you need to see the right kind of a don't cut that tree in wrong time. Wrong time in the sense not in the night time. You should see, like the way when you wanted to do Grohaprayasham in a new house, you see whether it's a right time or not. You should also see. It means it's also a being. And when you cut, you are killing that particular plant, then it can go to a Sadgati. It will, the next life when it is getting, if it is leaving its body in the right time, like Ekadashi said, then it will be promoted to higher destinations. So that, see the conscious, see, we are not, don't be dogmatic about this, but point what I am saying is that what is your consciousness level? Your consciousness level is that plants are also living beings. What you talk about animals, right? So Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastine Sunicheva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshanaha. So the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So you have equal vision to everyone. That's what is mentioned here. So ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनेव एव ते आद्य अन्तवन्त कौन्तेया न तेषु रमते बुधा. In the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasure have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So basically, it says that a sensible person, if, basically, he will not get unnecessarily use all his time in sense gratification. He will think beyond that. That's what is meant here. And if he is able to do that, then he is called as a wise man. And the last part, the peace formula, we'll end with this. So the process of liberation, this is what Krishna is going to give you the link to the next chapter, which is what is the Dhyana Yoga. So the peace formula, Krishna is talking about two things. One is Ashtanga Yoga process, the other is devotional service. And the peace formula which he is talking about is that the supreme beneficiary, who is the supreme beneficiary? If you keep that in mind, and supreme proprietor and supreme well-wisher. That is what, if you know who is that person, you will get that peace of mind. And that peace you will be able to practice in your life. We come into this world with nothing and we leave this world with nothing again. You know that. In the interim, we claim to proprietorship and attachment to various objects create fear, insecurity, and conflict. Change is a constant theme in this world. Our relationships are changing, the environment is changing, our possessions are changing, and our desires are also changing. That we know. To the extent we develop the sense of detachment, understanding the Supreme Lord to be the proprietor and ourselves as simply caretakers, to that extent we will experience a sense of peace within. Why we are not at peace is because of this reason. One is that we are attached to certain things. We are understanding that I am the doer. But in actuality, the doer is basically, there are three doers. And in that equation, basically, Krishna is the sanctioner, or the Paramatma, but the super soul is the sanctioner. And ultimately, everything, whatever you see, your body and the internal functioning is all not based on your own endeavor. There is somebody who is having us to do it. So that's a false notion. When you come out of this false notion that you are not this proprietor of this body, also you are not the proprietor. And why do I put tilak here? Is basically I am decorating the super soul. Because this is a temple. Why it is a temple? What makes some structure as a temple? Can somebody tell me what makes the structure as a temple? When you have what, it makes it as a temple. When you have some God in it, or the deity or idol in it, right? So in our body also there is the super soul, and that super soul is none other than Paramatma. So then this is a temple. So I am decorating myself with tilak because it's a temple, right? So that is the consciousness we have when you put tilak also. Okay, there are various other reasons why we put tilak, but that is one of the primary reasons. Okay, interestingly, it is this inner peace that brings about global peace. So when you, unless and until they say that if you are not comfortable with yourself, you cannot be comfortable with others. So when you have this inner peace, then you will have the peace outside also, and you can give that peace to others also. Okay. So we will, this is the last sloka for today. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhurdam sarva bhutatma jnatva mam shanti mruchyati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So what are the material miseries? Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika, material miseries, in addition to the real problems which are Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So you will be able to come out of this and you will attain that peace in this kind of circumstance also. And when you have this understanding and when you have this full consciousness about yourself in one way, and also the consciousness that ultimately the beneficiary of all the activities and austerities is Krishna. That means you have the bigger picture. Why are you doing? You are doing it for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. When you have this kind of consciousness, then you will have peace within you, and you will also be able to spread that peace outside. So with that, I will end. Probably we don't have so much time for taking questions, but we will take 1 or 2 questions. And the next chapter is Dhyana Yoga. So basically, we wanted to find out which yoga is suitable for the modern age. We will also discuss about that. And that is all about today. Thank you for your patient hearing and for bearing with me, though it is beyond the time. You have given me the chance to tell about these things, what are there as part of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 5. Tomorrow we will see the next chapter, which is chapter 6. Dhyana Yoga. Any questions quickly, if anybody has, we'll take a few.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So there is a question from Pratham and Mukunda Prabhu. Why we should not donate charity again? That's what I mean. Prabhu has not given the clarity. But what do you mean to say charity should not be given to people?
Okay, so yesterday we discussed this, why we should not give charity without any proper consciousness and knowledge. Because when you give something in charity to somebody, say for charity, I am just saying for an example, some beggar comes to your home, he's in torn shirt, pant, and he says that I have nothing to eat, etc. Then you give him 100 rupees. Okay, so that 100 rupees, he will eat something and he will have some, he gains some power and also drinks some alcohol and goes and beats his wife, or he indulges in an activity where he goes and does some abominable activity of raping or doing something or murdering. All this will come back to you. So you need to be careful of whom you are giving. They say that apatra dana should not be done. So apatra dana. So without knowing about the background of that person, don't give. Know about that background of that particular person. Who is he? Whether he will be using it for the right reason or not. Yes, if suppose he is suffering from hunger, to the extent we can give some prasadam so that he can get purified. And we are doing that activity also dovetailing with Krishna. So that effect, what you should get, you will not get so much. So that one you should keep in mind and then act. Yes, Prabhu, next.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So there's a question from Chandana Mataji. What is the meaning of submissive inquiry?
Oh, submissive inquiry is basically without any arrogance, without any challenging mood. So if you suppose you go to a guru and say that, I just wanted to test you whether you are real guru or not. That kind of a challenging mood we should not go. Arjuna, when he had a doubt, when Krishna asked, when Krishna said, I have given this knowledge to Vivaswan, the sun god, then Arjuna very submissively asked, how am I supposed to understand? How am I supposed to understand that you have given this knowledge to Vivaswan because you are my contemporary? So he never said that, Krishna, all that you are saying is wrong. Okay, you cannot do that. He's saying, how am I supposed to understand? Submissively is asking my understanding. I am not having proper understanding. Please give me proper understanding. That is the submissive nature.
Okay, Prabhuji, last question we'll take. This is from Nisra Yasika Mataji. Why we should not consume onion and garlic, Prabhuji?
So we will discuss about that at greater detail. What is the history of onion garlic? How it came into existence? One of the things we also know that onion garlic, Krishna is going to talk about different, what is that called as, foods are also categorized into three modes. One is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So the onion garlic comes under the tamasic mode, not even rajasic. They come under tamasic mode. So you will cultivate that tamasic kind of a nature. What is tamasic by nature? Tamasic means laziness. And this meat also comes under the tamasic. Why? Because just imagine, when you had these vegetables and sattvic food, you are light, you are able to focus your mind properly, and your behavior is also sattvic by nature, and you don't get sleepy that much. But suppose you take non-vegetarian food or onion garlic, so you will tend to sleep longer duration, and digestion also takes more than 48 to 50 hours to digest, first of all. And our scientifically also, our teeth and our digestive tract is not meant for any of this tamasic kind of food, which includes non-vegetarian also. Okay. And the history about how this onion garlic came, we'll discuss about that later. And it is more related, and it is described in Bhagavatam, that this Rahu and Ketu were two Rakshasas. Yeah, we'll discuss about that at later point. Yeah, Chandrasekhar Prabhu has got one doubt. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. So 1 second, Prabhu.
Prabhuji,
one second, Prabhu. Let me do one thing. Ashok Prabhu, can you remove my spotlight? Okay. Yeah, Chandrasekhar Prabhu, go ahead.
Prabhuji, day before yesterday class, we discussed about regulative principles. So I want to know what are all the activities that come under gambling in today's world.
Could you repeat that one more time?
We discussed about regulative principles, na Prabhuji.
4 regulative principles.
Regulative principles. Yes. I want to know what are all the activities that come under gambling in today's world.
Oh, gambling. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice question. See, anything where you are doing it where you don't know about the results, but you are just leaving it for chance, that is called gambling. One way. Now you go to some place where gambling are done, like poker and something, where output what you are able to get is not based on either your intelligence or your mind. It's just based on pure chance. That's called gambling, and you don't want to indulge in that kind of a gambling. So devotees don't do gambling. So that's what they say. Hope I made that clear. You can have a follow-up question if you want quickly. We'll just close it. Chandrasekhar Prabhu, is that clear? Okay. Seems like he's not able to unmute. Okay, so we will end here. Chandrasekhar Prabhu will discuss more at later point of time if you have any questions. We will do quick kirtan and then we'll end today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for joining today. See you all tomorrow, same time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.